All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to try and untangle one of the most sprawling, morally complex fantasy sagas ever written, The Witcher. And look, if you're looking for simple good versus evil, this ain't it. This is a story about monsters, sure, but it's really about magic and the messy, broken families we find and fight for along the way.
Yeah, that quote, it just takes you straight to the heart of the Witcher's world, doesn't it? I mean, this is a brutal place, full of monsters and, of course, monster slayers. A world where destiny isn't some kind of fairy tale. Nah, it's a debt, and it's almost always paid in blood. Survival is a daily grind, and even the biggest, baddest heroes are just one wrong move, one bad fight away from the end.
So, A Witcher's Promise, the law of surprise. You know, the whole saga, this massive story. It doesn't kick off with some epic battle. No, it all starts with a promise. A really old, really binding custom that's going to wind up tying three completely separate lives together. And in doing so, change the fate of the entire continent forever.
So, what exactly is the law of surprise? Well, it's pretty wild. After our Witcher, Geralt of Rivia, saves this cursed knight, he calls on this ancient law for payment. And what's the price? Get this. That which you have but do not yet know. And what does the knight have that he doesn't know about? An unborn child. Yeah, and just like that, with those few words, Geralt, a sterile, mutated monster hunter who can't have kids of his own, finds his fate completely tangled up with Princess Cirilla of Sintra, and she hasn't even been born yet.
And really, at the center of this whole thing, you have this fateful triangle. It's built around these two incredibly powerful but also incredibly broken people who are both searching for something to make them whole. On one side, you've got Geralt, right? The stoic, emotionless on the surface killer for hire. And on the other, Yennefer of Vengerberg, this unbelievably powerful sorceress who wants, more than anything, the one thing she can't have, a family. And pretty soon, both of their lives, and really the fate of the entire continent, are going to start revolving around Geralt's child of surprise.
Okay, so now we get to the Lion Cub's power and our training at Kaer Morhen. After Sintra is just brutally wiped off the map, Ciri is left an orphan on the run. But destiny, as it does in this story, finds a way. She finally finds Geralt, and he takes her to the only real home he's ever known, the remote mountain fortress of the Witchers, Kaer Morhen. And at Kaer Morhen, she is absolutely not treated like a princess. Not at all. She's trained as a Witcher, she learns the sword, she learns how to fight, how to kill, and most importantly, how to survive. But while all this grueling training is happening, while she's getting tougher, something else is starting to bubble up to the surface. A power, a truly immense power that the Witchers have no idea how to handle. Yeah, she starts having these trances. They're totally uncontrolled, and they're prophetic. Turns out she's what's called a source. Basically, a massive, raw conduit of magical energy. And this power, it's both a gift and a terrifying, terrifying curse. It's like having a nuke inside you that you don't know how to disarm. She can't control it, and it puts everyone around her in serious danger.
So Geralt, totally out of his depth, does the only thing he can think of. He goes to the one person he knows who might understand this kind of raw power. Yennefer. Yennefer agrees to help, to train Ciri, and what starts to form is this really unlikely, sometimes difficult but incredibly powerful mother-daughter bond. You've got the sorceress who gave up everything, including the ability to have children, for power, and the lost child who has all the power in the world but no family. It's kind of perfect.
So now the world starts to hunt for Ciri. It all comes to a head during the Thanid coup. This fragile little family they've managed to build, it's about to be completely shattered. See, there's this big meeting of all the mages on the island of Thanid, and a violent coup just explodes out of nowhere. The entire world of magic descends into chaos, and our three heroes are trapped right in the middle of it.
And in that chaos, everything falls apart. Their family is just ripped to shreds. Yennefer gets captured, Geralt is almost killed, just gravely wounded by a super powerful rogue mage, and Ciri, in a moment of absolute terror, she just unleashes everything. Her power rips open an unstable portal and she vanishes. She's thrown across the continent, lost, totally alone, stranded in a barren desert. And the worst part? The secret's out. The entire world now knows about her and her power, about the Elder Blood, this ancient, legendary elven gene that grants unbelievable magical abilities.
So, Who's hunting the swallow? That's her new code name. Well, basically everyone. The stakes are now impossibly high. You've got Vilgefortz, that rogue mage who nearly killed Geralt. He wants her power for himself. You've got the Lodge of Sorceresses, this secret group of mages who want to use her like a political pawn. You've got the Emperor of Nilfgaard himself, Emharvar Emrace, who wants to marry her to legitimize his throne. And then there's this shadowy guy, Stefan Skellen, who's got his own secret plans for her. The lion cub of Sintra is officially the most wanted person in the world. The hunt is well and truly on.
All right, so this leads us to a broken family's quest. We're looking at parallel journeys of survival. While all this is happening, a massive war is raging across the continent between the northern kingdoms and the Nilfgaardian Empire. And in the middle of all that fire and blood, our separated family begins two very different and very desperate journeys. Geralt, for his part, thinks Yennefer is dead, so there's only one thing left for him to do: find Ciri. He just refuses to leave her to her fate. As he puts it, he knows what it's like to be alone, and he won't let that happen to her. So he sets off, crossing a war-torn world, and on the way he picks up the most unlikely crew you can imagine: a poet, an archer, a dwarven warrior, and, yeah, a higher vampire. It's a real fellowship of the strange, all of them bound together on this seemingly impossible quest.
And Ciri? Oh man, Ciri's journey is much darker. She's alone, traumatized, and has to do whatever it takes to survive. She falls in with a gang of young, violent outlaws called the Rats, and to fit in, to survive, she embraces this whole new, brutal identity. She calls herself Falka. And that quote, it's just haunting. It really captures that moment she starts to let go, to slip into this darkness, trading who she was for a twisted kind of family.
And this is where you really see the tragic contrast, right? You've got Geralt Tansa, his company, on a quest to save family. They're driven by loyalty, by love, and they're facing the horrors of war. Then you have Ciri's Rats. Theirs is a fight just to survive, driven by trauma and pure rage. And they aren't just facing the horrors of war, they're inflicting them. While Geralt is trying to rescue his daughter is risking becoming a monster herself just to stay alive. So, confronting destiny, the final reckoning, after years of searching, of fighting, of losing people on all sides, all the paths, all the storylines, they finally converge on one single place: the fortress of the man who started all this, the man who tore their family apart in the first place. And that place is Steiga Castle. Just the name sounds bad, right? This is the remote, frozen stronghold of the rogue mage Vilgefortz. It's here that he's been torturing Yennefer for months trying to get information. And it's here that he's planning to perform some horrific ritual on Ciri to steal the power of the Elder Blood for himself. This is the endgame. And the battle for Ciri is just a complete bloodbath. It's the final showdown. Geralt and his Hansa assault the castle, and it is a desperate, brutal fight. Many of his companions make the ultimate sacrifice just to get him through the gates. Inside, Yennefer and Ciri manage to break free and start fighting their way out. This all leads to two massive duels. Geralt finally confronts Vilgefortz, and at the same time, Ciri has to face her own personal demon, the sadistic bounty hunter Leo Bonhart, who's been hunting her for years. So, the family is reunited only to be torn apart again. They win. They actually win. But just as they're together again, they're met by the Emperor of Nilfgaard and his army. And here it is, the final absolutely stunning twist of the entire saga. The Emperor is Ciri's biological father. He's Dewey, the cursed knight that Geralt saved at the very beginning of the story. He faked his own death. He's here to take Ciri. But then, he sees them together. He sees this unbreakable bond between her, Geralt, and Yennefer. And in a moment of, pity? Regret? He just relents. He turns around and leaves them.
They're free. It seems like it's over. But this is the world of The Witcher. There are no fairy tale endings. Their peace lasts for like 5 minutes. They're in the city of Rivia when a violent, racist pogrom breaks out against non-humans. Geralt, of course, steps in to defend his friends. And in the most bitter, cruel twist of irony imaginable, Geralt of Rivia, the legendary monster slayer, the Butcher of Blaviken, is fatally stabbed by a random thug with a pitchfork.
And Yennefer, she just panics. She throws every ounce of magic, every bit of her life force, into trying to heal him, but it's no use. The wound is too much. She completely burns herself out and collapses, near death herself. I mean, after everything, all the fighting, the searching, the torture, to find each other again only for it to end like this, in blood and failure on a dirty street, it's just pathetic, as she herself might say.
But then, Ciri, the child of destiny, the lady of time and space, she makes one last choice. Out of the mists, a unicorn appears, a creature from her past. And Ciri, using that world-bending power that she had sworn off, does something incredible. She places Geralt and Yennefer, her dying parents, into a small boat and disappears with them into the fog.
So what happened? Where did they go? Did they find peace? Did Ciri take them to the mythical Isle of Avalon to heal forever? Or was that it? Was it just a beautiful, poetic journey into the afterlife? Their ultimate fate is totally left to legend. It's this bittersweet, ambiguous ending, and the story, it never gives you a straight answer.
And that final exchange from the book, it really says it all, doesn't it? A character complains that it's not a nice ending for a story about a Witcher. And that's the point. The Witcher Saga was never ever about a nice ending. It's a story that completely defies easy answers because it stays true to its brutal, complex world. And in the end, it leaves us right there on that razor's edge between fate and choice, making us wonder about the stories we tell ourselves and the power of the ones we ultimately choose to believe.